For today's video, we're going to be looking at the Raging Bolt Teal Mask Ogerpon archetype. Now, this was seeing a little bit of play in Japan towards the back end of their city leagues, but it seems to have come on leaps and bounds in our format. It's a very aggressive archetype that has great one-hit KO potential, which is really important for the amount of Stage 2 EXs that we have in the format. And thanks to Raging Bolt having that very bulky 240 hit points on a basic, means you can fight it out nicely against the Miraidons and Future Hands builds, thanks to your general bulk. Plus, into those aggressive matchups, thanks to Teal Mask Ogerpon also adding additional energy attachments in the opening stages, it means Raging Bolt isn't capped at 210 that it used to be on turn 1. Now you can push to 280 and even higher if need be. So the deck got a lot faster and more aggressive, whilst also gaining a fantastic draw engine in the Teal Mask Ogerpon. It's only really replacing itself, but whilst you're doing those +1s with card draw, you're also building up your board really nicely so that your Bellowing Thunder can churn every single turn of the game huge amounts of damage output. Obviously, this is a Professor Sada based archetype, so we have a lot of discard synergy cards in here. We're maxing copies of Ultra Ball, Earthen Vessel, Radiant Greninja to discard our energy. We have PokéStop and a number of Trekking Shoes in here as well, all so that we can get early game activation of our Sada, which requires basic energy in the discard pile to activate, and we want to get multiple energy in the bin, of course, so we are maximizing our Bellowing Thunder damage output. We're taking a leaf out of Cawthon's old Roaring Moon list from the previous formats, where we have the 2 Iono and 2 Boss as backup, as well as a Pal Pad in the deck list to make sure that we can keep up with supporters. For the supporting Pokemon, Squawkabilly is obvious. Mew's actually not as good as I thought it would be in this archetype, because Ogerpon already is a nice bench-sitting Pokemon and does fill up the bench quite quickly. But also, the Radiant Greninja is also a great one to sit on board. Mew can continually top you up with no questions asked, so when you are being put down to 1 and 2 card Ionos, it's going to guarantee you cards, which is the upside compared to it. But I'm still debating whether or not this is just better or worse than just a 4th Trekking Shoe or 3rd Pokégear. Those are cards that I am sort of trying to increase the counts of in my own 60. We do have the one copy of Sandy Shocks in here. That magnetic burst attack does 1 for 90 as long as you have 3 energy on your board. This can be fulfilled via Sada turn 1 or with multiple Ogerpon plus a turn attachment onto the Sandy Shocks. So it is a really nice Pokemon to just prod through evolving basics in the most part, whilst only throwing a 1 prizer into the mix. Overall, pretty straightforward archetype. Flood the board of energy every single turn and try and bellow through as many multi-prizes as you can. But there are some other considerations that I'm also going to touch on. As for some of those other consideration cards, Lost Vacuum can target a lot of hit point buff tools right now. Gardevoir's not the easiest matchup because they have so many single prizes, so being able to vacuum through a Drifloon can be really handy if they've had to overcommit to KO 240 hit point Raging Bolt. Equally, it can actually be quite handy against Control, where you can try and get rid of a hit point buffing card on a Mimikyu, so then you can knock it out cleanly with a Sandy Shocks. At the same time, sometimes this can save you a discard when you are up against other mirror matches, and maybe even up against like Miraidon if they have hit point buffs as well. On this slide, the Vacuum I think is the card that's most likely going to be entering the list if anything. But there are some extra cards that can help you gust, and I did just say that you want to take multiple knockouts every single turn of the game, and that's because your board is always going to have 2 prizes filled throughout it, so your opponent can always capitalize on your multi-prize Pokemon, so you have to make sure you're doing the same thing back to them and reducing the game down to as few turns as possible. Iron Bundle is a nice ball searchable way of pushing something out the active. Very, very disruptive in the opening stages, as we know, but it's an extra way just to push in general, and especially in things like mirror matches where your opponent probably only has one prizer in play. This is almost always just going to be guaranteeing a 2 prizer comes back at you. Same thing for the likes of Miraidon. It's very rare they have 2 single prizes in play, at least in the early game. So Bundle could be huge in that regard. Whereas the Pokemon Catcher, more kind of versatile throughout the game, but there's no guarantee that you're flipping heads the turn you need it. So that is a card that has been played in Roaring Moons of the past, which is obviously PokéStop based builds like this one, and Miraidon has chosen to play this at times as well. So it does sort of fit the theme of the deck, but it's up to you whether or not you'd want to play catchers in the list. A couple more kind of niche ones. The Penny and Ogerpon can both be quite helpful in controlling matchups. Penny with Pal Pad in the decklist gives you a few ways to get around a trap. Right now I only play Prime Catcher, Switch Cart, 1 Boss and Pal Pad. We are a little bit light, so if you want to improve that situation you can. Plus the Penny can really help out against lower damage output decks like Dragapult, where if you've sponged a hit, your opponent's maybe set up a 4 prize play, you can Penny up and really deny that. So if you're expecting a lot of Pult, Penny could be a good choice as well. Cornerstone Mask Ogerpon does have a really annoying ability, and it's seen a lot of play actually in early lists of Raging Bolts. I think it's actually a big trap. That's the reason why it's on this slide, not because I think it's a great card specifically, but I think it doesn't actually cover enough matchups for you. Yes, it's a bit more of a stable answer against Mimikyu, but I really don't think it's that big of a deal. Yes, its ability is annoying, but it really doesn't stop the sort of main threats I'm expecting in the format, so I don't think this is worth the space, especially because, you know, you have to turn attach to this guy 3 times. That is just terrible, and I don't want to start filling the deck with E-switches either. So I think Cornerstone is just an early game list thing rather than like a great card in the 60. I think Sandy Shocks is a much better option as a means around Mimikyu, whilst also being a one prizer you can throw at the opponent and force them to have Gust on certain turns. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Raging Bolt. Now let's get into some games. If you're looking for PTCG live codes, make sure you check out the Potown store. You can get a 5% discount on your orders using that code OmniPoke. So getting into our first game, we have the Raging Bolt start. Not a great hand, but I can Ultra Ball for Squawk probably and just reset. We see Radzard into Rotom, Ultra Ball. Is it Zard? No, it's Dragapult. Okay. They actually threw away a Counter Catcher early. That's good for us. They're just going to instant charge. The hand wasn't that strong as an opener. I definitely choose to go second as Raging Bolt, by the way, because we have so many ways of doing insane damage early on. Sada unlocks most of it, but we can even use Sandy Shocks without hitting Sada turn 1 if we have enough Teal dances. Obviously in this case we're staring down Radzard, which is a bulky basic, so I probably need to try and bellow this. I'm going to get a quick attachment in. We've got a few energy nicely banked in the discard pile for this Sada, which we find on the other side of the Squawk and Seas. So we can be pressurizing this Zard. Draw into another Vessel as well, which means we can also get a Teal dance in. We're going to keep this Raging Bolt. I just discarded the last one. So yeah, seems like a good chance to just take the KO. We are losing 3 energy for the price of a prize, but it's really not an issue. We have insane damage output with this deck, to be honest with you, and so much reload. It's not a big problem. Don't know what their best turn looks like, to be honest with you. If they go like Candy Dragger Prod, that sounds terrible. Maybe they just take a turn off doing Evo plays, maybe. Yep, it's exactly that from Arven. Buddy Buddy Poffin gonna come in. See Vessel, get rid of Defiance Band. That's also pretty good for us, because if we Bravery Charm up, they can't do the 230 into 60 damage prod. But yeah, it looks like they just have a lot of not that useful cards, so they just have to Evo 2 on the bench. We do have access to Boss, but it's an important card to like keep around for their multi-prizes later. I think it's reasonable to just go for the active here, honestly, for 70 damage. We know their hand's not great, so I don't want to play Iono. If I boss, it locks me into finding a Sada, and I just don't have access to it based on this hand, and not a lot of draw to get there, honestly. So I think a pretty reserved turn of just taking a 70 damage KO is pretty reasonable here. I need to keep these bosses around to get through Rotom and probably Dragapult if it's chilling out on the bench. So we'll just take the 1 here. I'm keeping my Bravery Charms around for if they're trying to like set up Ogerpon or Squawkabilly or whatever else on the bench, so that I could like buff their hit points. Interesting. They're still trying to stall. They're going to go for a Counter Catcher plus Iono play. That's double Counter Catcher gone. So it's going to be hard for them to play around our Bravery Charms if we can draw back into some. They're finally filling up their bench a bit more. Do they have any pressure coming down? There's the Radzard. He's back. Let's see Rotom using Forest Seal Stone. Looks like they just were lacking energy and they want to get Xatu rolling. Okay, it means they can threaten Zard next turn. Just with a turn attachment. Yeah, okay, and they're going to sacrifice Xatu. So Gust would be absolutely insane here. If we could Gust KO Rotom, go down to 2, that would be great. Taking the 1 is fine, because they're probably going to force me through Radzard anyway at some point, but I do think it would be good if we could boss this turn. Or Prime. Prime would be great as well. Obviously, we still need to move this Raging Bolt. Sada means I can at least hit the active, which is something. Oh, but we do hit the A-Spec. That's amazing. Couple options. I could take out like a Dreepy with Sandy Shocks, or we could just take the 2 now. I think this makes the most sense, because we have such a big prize buffer when I go down to 2. He's going to come back, go to 4. Then I can go to 1, and then he's in a really weird spot. He kind of just has to hope I don't have enough damage at that point. And that sounds too easy. So they're going to have to do some funky plays. For sure. Alright, we see... Well, at least their draw engine's online. We're going to get hit with Hand Disruption again. No boss this time. Okay. Just to take an extra energy off the board. Okay. Doesn't sound that great, honestly. I guess they're just making me have Sadas, but that shouldn't be a big issue. So let's just go into the Raging Bolt and deal with the Zard. Ooh, Sada's another big top deck. Now I can set up double Raging Bolt. So it's exactly what I'm saying. I can get through the Zard, go down to 1, and I should have enough energy to see me through. You can PokéStop just to play around Hand Disruption. Bravery Charm plays around maybe another Radzard coming back. Turn attachment means that both Raging Bolts are ready to rumble. And we're just going to keep... We'll take all the energy off the bench dudes and just have both bolts ready, because they probably can't go through both. If they Radzard the bench, I just come in with the other guy. They can Dragapult, but it's obviously not taking prizes, so it's a very long-term strat for them. The only thing that's a bit troubling is that I don't have Greninja or Mew EX on this board. That's the only thing that I think is maybe a small headache right now. They have a lot of draw on this board, though. They can probably make something come together. They at least need to Hand Disrupt us, we know that much. I am quite a few Sadas down as well, so maybe... Well, there is the Iono. Rod's not necessarily a bad draw. I can, like, reload my Grass Energy and just, like, go for a Burst Raw attack. That's another great thing about Raging Bolt, is that you just have this full back attack. If you've had a slow start, or in these Hand Disruption moments, you have a late game, like, refresh. Because we got so far ahead, I do have the option of that. Looks like they're coming in with Dragapult. It's a big risk. They lose to an energy attachment, right? We're at 280 right now. So they are saying they lose to an attachment. We don't top deck into one. So I guess we are just going to reload and burst Raw. No point in hitting into the Dragger, because we can go around it as well if we have to, or one-hit KO it, even with these 2 energy coming off the board. Can I lose this turn? I could lose if they have Vacuum plus Gust, but no, they're going to go for Iono. So I don't lose this turn, right? In any way. I guess they're just going for the active, hoping to take more energy off the board and be a little safer than last turn. They're gonna just target the other Bolt. I guess that makes sense. Plays around hit point buff. They have gone for a lot of Gusts, so... PokéStop's a nice top deck. We're looking for... Well, do we have any Sadas left? We've played 3 of our Sadas. We have both Boss, though. Ah, and there's Boss. Okay, nice. Cool. We eventually get over the line. It was a little bit shaky there. They did quite well at making a nice comeback. They obviously took a big risk. They could have lost to an energy 2 turns ago. But, yeah, nice to get over the line against the Draga. It's definitely a scarier matchup with the Radzard in the list. Let's get into our next game. And pretty similar to our last one, actually, where we just have the Squawk opener. Looks like it's Gardy this time. In some ways, the matchup's quite similar to Dragapult. Obviously, they don't have a Radzard, but they have the Drifloon. The good news is that Drifloon damages itself so much that I can Sandy Shocks into Drifloon. So that's something to bear in mind. I can't use Sandy Shocks early, though, because Sandy Shocks doesn't hit for weakness, but it does get affected by resistance. And Drifloon and Roltz both have resist to fighting, which is a shame. I can do a nice 0-card hand Squawk play. Possibly could have gone for Mew there, just so that I could discard some energy to unlock Sada, perhaps. Because now I have a tough choice. Get rid of the Ultra Ball. I don't know how much I like that, actually, looking back at it. I probably should have kept the Ultra Ball and just taken these 2 energy and then just Ultra Balled them away for maximum Sada value. I guess I was worried about my bench as well, wanting to be more Ogerpon, so I have that reach into the EX. But there's no guarantee that I can actually attack this turn. Okay, a couple decent draws from the Mew. And we get bailed out by the Teal dance. Okay, so I can Sada in the end. Quite lucky. Maybe I think I probably should have done my early game pathing a little bit differently there. I haven't slammed PokéStop yet either, and it looks like I can just hold off now that I'm holding on Sada for next turn. So it's a decent turn in the end, maximum pressure. But I did it in a bit of a wonky way, to be honest with you. Got quite lucky with the restart. But regardless, we take a Drifloon out. Let's see. Once again, Gully not known for its turn 2 tempo. I imagine they may be looking to TM Evo as well this turn. I'm going to see an Arven. Yeah, Vessel TM Evo, so it's probably on their radar as well. Get rid of Churro, that's fine. Gonna draw some with Greninja. Well, that's a lot of Psychic hitting the bin, that's good for them. They're going to go Curlier active, get some extra draws in. Maybe they're looking for more basic search here. Oh, the PokéStop actually provides them that. It did get rid of a Curlier though. Hopefully they can't get full TM Evo value. There it is. Yeah, nice. Just one Curlier. Okay. So going through the active seems reasonable. We draw into another Sada, holding on to a ton of those now. It is currently just live for 1 energy. I could spin the PokéStop if I wanted to maybe discard an extra energy. Oh, 3 items. That's a huge hit. Feels good. Full Sada value for the double bolts now. And we're basically going to be threatening Guardy EX the whole game with this now. Bravery Charming the Mew EX plays around Guardy EX, gusting it. And I want to keep Mew around because this is just another one of those Iono matchups where we're going ahead in the race. We're 2 prizes up now. So we want to protect that Mew so that we can have that onboard draw power as we creep towards the late game. Our hand is like absurd. They definitely need to start hand disrupting us. We see Counter Catcher for Squawk. And this is exactly why I like the Bravery Charm on the Mew, because otherwise they could Drifloon through the Mew with the perfect 180 with Bloom Blast. Now they're taking out Squawk, which is still 2 prizes, but we get to keep our engine at least. We finally see Guardy EX and the Iono as expected. If they can't develop many more Curlier, that could be a big deal for me if I could Gust KO Guardi EX next turn. Our hand's really not getting us very far, though. We're clogged up with double Ogerpon right now. Looks like PokéStop didn't help them too much, but they do have Super Rod. They're going to get another Drifloon in the mix. Interesting. They're going for the bench one. Are they loading up two? Maybe they're thinking that they need this Guardi to not be on the board at some point later on. Which makes a good amount of sense, because they need to represent a one prize board at some point. Okay. We can weave in Sandy Shocks here as a one prize attacker, which is kind of cool. We can Iono them back down to 4, which is nice. We're going to Pokégear preemptively just for better PokéStop value. We do hit the retrieval. Only gets grass energy, but it means I could Teal Dance as well. We ideally hit fighting energy for Sandy Shocks, right? Doesn't come good for us, so we probably have to deal with the Drifloon with a 2-prizer. Which is a shame. Would have been nice to weave in Sandy there. Force even more out of the Guardi player. But at least we have a 290 hit point Bolt. Still a lot for them to get through. They need to load up Drifloon a bunch and get Monkey Dory down. Oh no, they don't. They only need the Bravery Charm, right, to hit the 300. I'm thinking of Stage 2 EXs. They did just Greninja away a Dark Energy. And a Manaphy hits the bin. Okay, so they can Arven for Bravery Charm. So they're probably swinging with the Drifloon here. They have Counter Catcher as well. What do they want to counter catch? Interesting, going for Mew, okay. They not have enough energy to go through the Bolt. Oh, they must have had enough energy to go through the Bolt. I guess they're just more concerned about Mew EX being a headache for them. Means they probably need to Gust again next turn, though. There's Monkey Dory. And the Balloon Blast for 240. So again, it would be great to weave in the Sandy Shocks here. Force even more Gust. They're down double counter catch. If I can Iono them, that would be huge as well. That would be absolutely massive, actually. We have 13 in deck. 1 Iono to hit. Okay, well there's Trekking Shoe. No help there. PokéStop got rid of our Iono. That's a shame. I think if we hit Iono there and take the KO, obviously we would have shuffled our own boss down to the bottom, but I think with the Teal Dances still remaining and Greninja on board, we would have had good chances of denying them. Now we're kind of just hoping they can't Gust. They still haven't played boss. Let's see. They only have, well, they have 2 Curliers. Is Ultra Ball game? Doesn't look like it's game. Drifloon is scary though. They don't have many cards left in deck. Gardevoir's getting into the mix. It doesn't care anything, but Monkey Dory could push it into range. They have the boss. Well, it's looking like they do have boss. Yep, we couldn't deny them, unfortunately. Close one against Guardi. Just a shame that we milled the Iono rather than drew into it. Let's get into another game. This time it's Lugia. This is definitely one of our best matchups, especially going second. Our hand isn't very well equipped to Sada, though. I might need the help of PokéStop. It might be a PokéStop Prey angle for us to take a KO here. They do have backup Lugia. So they are... Oh, and the gift, so they're really respecting that I can bellow through them. PokéStop take the wheel. Oh, that is a busted PokéStop. You'll love to see it. We can get some energy. And then, do we have to squawk this away? Greninja could unlock the Sada, yeah. This is nice. We're only at 21 right now, so the Sada needs to hit us a Teal Mask Ogerpon or a draw card. Okay, nice. We do hit a Ball Search. So yeah, we're hitting 280 turn 1. That's not bad. That's not bad at all. Even Bravery Charm up. I suppose it is relevant in case they can Blood Moon early. Even going to develop the Mew. And it's a pretty good hand to hold, to be honest with you, so... It's a big explosion of damage, 280, turn 1. It's just nuts. On a 290 hit point basic. Sounds pretty silly to me. Oh, nice. They milled their Iron Hands. It's good to know. They could have done something cheeky with that guy. Looks like they've started to get rid of some Archeops pieces. I think that was the first one in the bin. Ah, they are getting Blood Moon in the mix. There's a gift to the active and just an Iono. Great Ball for another Chinchino. Oh boy, okay. So they didn't want to use V-Star for one chops, so they decided to just wait out for a turn. That's... yikes. I can even heal the 30 poke from the gentle slap. That's funny. We are looking for Sada, though. Otherwise, we're not going to... Ooh, Prime. Oh, man. If I take out the Lugia, it's just game, right? We need to hit the Sada off the 2 from Mew and the Greninja, but it's possible. We also have the PokéStop that could get us Pokégears. It's still in our range. We just have to find Trekking Shoes or Pokégear from this. Well, we do hit the... Okay, yeah. We milled the Sada, unfortunately. So I can't just bonk. Could go for a Burst Roar turn, though. Just get back all the grass energy and reload the hand completely. Looks like I'm not going for that, though. I think I'm just holding. A bit risky to hold, honestly. But maybe I'm worried that this Raging Bolt can get burst through. They could KO it with Chinchino if I just attach active, and then I'd be losing out on energy. They finally grabbed another Archeops. Can they finally get 2 in the bin? Let's have a look. Yeah, that's their second chops in the bin. That's a lot of energy gone, though. Legacy is okay on the Lugia. I suppose it's not really as good as it being on the Blood Moon, honestly, because that is much more of a dangerous threat. This Lugia can be hitting 220, though, so if they use it for, like, gusting situations, it's nice. We don't play any way to get around Legacy, so we will have to take a 1 prize on this Lugia, probably. Let's start with some Teal dances. We're going to lower this hand size as much as possible for Mew EX to get into the mix. Before Greninja. Ah, nice. There's Sada. And we just have to take a big bellow here. It's annoying to have to go through the Lugia, but I think that's where we're at. Looks like I'm just spreading the energy to play around Blood Moon bossing something if I just keep 2 energy on anything else. They're going to go Chinchino. Looks like they're out of Minchino, otherwise they definitely would have grabbed one there, right? Let's see the turn attachment into the Iono. Looks like they're starting to load up the Blood Moon as well with a gift, I think it is. So they do have a gift of their own, so the Iono is really not that good. We can bin that just for Teal draws. PokéStop's interesting. We definitely just want to develop another Raging Bolt, right, alongside this, and have Sada. We can attach to the Ogerpon this turn and just KO the Chinchino that way. This is dangerous. If the Raging Bolt is KO'd on the bench, that's a bit worrying. But I guess I just reloaded a bunch of Sada so I can get away with it. Ideally, we wanted double Bolt there for the Sada, but regardless, we make do. That's another nice prize for us. And they're going to go in with Big Ursaluna. Jamming Tower. Okay, so they do boss our one Raging Bolt, so this is what I kind of feared, to be honest with you. But at least I'm holding on to game with Sada Retrieval. We have plenty of damage. So the Lugia didn't draw all that well, but let's face it, we did do 280 turn 1, which probably helps. Probably helps us out. And yeah, we always have to go through Legacy, which is a bit yucky. Sometimes you can boss around, but in this case we were forced to take 2 single prize knockouts. But nice win against Lugia. Let's get into another game. When you are going second, it's actually a big debate whether or not to start Ogerpon or Raging Bolt, given the choice. I think because there's so many evolving decks, and this is another one, we're up against Charizard, right? There are so many evolving decks that it's actually kind of nice to have Ogerpon to be an easier pivot, just in case you want to attack with Sandy Shocks. So just a small thing there. We are going to get the Sandy Shocks out of the deck pretty early because, yeah, we're up against one of these evolving matchups. And we can reduce our hand down pretty cleanly here for Squawk to draw 6. More grass energy for our ogres. Looking like a beast of a hand to sit on. Let's see what the Charizard can come up with. Poffin. Pretty routine so far. Maybe they prize the other Pidgey. Yeah, I guess I can do all sorts. Oh, they actually rip the stop and go Poffin. Interesting. Okay, so they're going to go Cleffa. They can rod back a couple fire and then just draw 3. Pretty scary. Good news is that I've probably got Sandy Shocks to work with this turn. We have got fighting in the bin. We're going to take Greninja just for more onboard draw. It's time to rip the gear. Yep, we do hit a Sada, that's nice. So I can use Shocks this turn. We draw a bunch of energy off that, so I can start using Greninja. Wow, triple Vessel in hand. So Burst is online. It's whether or not I want to commit this energy. More energy on board benefits me in that it can make a Bellowing Thunder stronger, but also just holding the energy for Greninja draw is also reasonable. So I am just going to go for the 90 swing and initiate the race. See how good their hand is. There you go, Pidgey. That's not a good sign. Yeah, it means they've got Pidgeots. Ultra Ball's also not a good sign, but they've gone Bib, so maybe they don't have Candizard. They're going to draw 3. Now we see the quick search. Still a lot for them to find boss plus Charizard here. Would be a bit of a high roll. There is Charizard though. But this is completely fine as long as it's not Gust. If it's Gust, we're in a lot of trouble. Ultra Ball for Fish. Fish boss. Oh, Fish Arven. Counter Catcher. Oh, they had the nuts. What the heck? What is this? Look at their board. It's insane. They even get to bank a forest on the bench. I don't think we're beating this. I'll be honest, I don't think we're beating that board. That board is terrifying. What? How could this happen? I mean, I know I can knock everything out in my path, but so can they at this point, right? I think maybe my best... I'm looking back now, and I don't think I necessarily took the best line here. Maybe my best line was Raging Bolt, Bravery Charm, Prime Catch, Bib, KO Bib, go to 4. But that's so weak to Radzard as well. I saw myself just discard the Bravery Charm there and think it might have been a more helpful piece than just taking out the active here. Like, taking out the active's fine, but their engine is just way too OP now. It may have been better for me to just Raging Bolt through the Bib Barrel instead. But to be honest, I mean, they've got double Comp Search and Bib Barrel now. I'm not really seeing how I'm winning this. The Radzard's ready to rumble as well. Oh, they just hit 3 off PokéStop. Give me a break. What the heck? I mean... Sometimes you're just not meant to win, and I think we're in that situation right now. They go Infernal Rain. In comes Radzard, yeah, they got the double threat established. I think we're just toast. My goodness. I mean, all I can do is... I mean... Trap, maybe? 5 energy on the board. I think we're just done, to be honest. I can maybe trap Bib and hit it over 2 turns, but I lose to Churro. Or just manual attachments, or they can just wait on the Bib and sort of do the call my bluff. I have less cards in deck than them, so I can't deck them out with Bib. Oh, do I? With Rod, do I have more cards? No. No. Not the way that I'm playing all these cards, at least. I think Trap the Barrel for a turn is the only thing I can think of, but this doesn't feel great. Trap the Barrel, KO it. Oh, but even if I... Yeah, I mean, then I would have to, like, boss KO Pidge, but then they've still got Forest Seal Stone. I think it's just a lost cause. I don't know how I win this, to be honest with you. I'm not seeing it. Plus, this is a 2-shot on the Bib. It's not even... I think we're just toast, right? They can beat me in so many ways. They have so many more cards in deck as well. Yeah, I think we're just done. What? That Zard was just the uber nuts draw, to be honest. Let's get our final game. This is also going to be a funny one. This is up against Block Snorlax. And obviously, all of these videos are post-recorded and commentated by me, so I know the outcome of this one. And it's quite a funny one. They're going to Nest out Rotom and get drawing. Now, Ogerpon is actually your best lead in the matchup, because obviously you can just sit there attached to it and swing constantly. The Raging Bolt is like, it's fine. It's not great though, because you have to keep discarding from yourself. But the upside of it is that it unlocks your Sada, which is part of your draw engine, so... this hand is actually quite poor. Might just be a burst raw angle, just to get rid of this garbage. We gonna bench the other Ogerpon and just yeet. I don't even know how good benching that other Ogerpon was, to be honest with you. Might not be correct. They go for Hisuian, take nothing. They eerie us. They can take double Vessel out of our hand. And our hand is trash, bro. No, stop. Oh, Pokégear. Sada's not live, but Iono is. Okay, okay. It's something. It's definitely something. Oh man, what is this? Well, we can attach and just swing, I suppose. Or just pass, I mean. Swing next turn. We've got Grass Energy active, obviously. So they rip the double flute and hit 2 basics. And actually now the clock is on for us to fill our last bench space with Sandy Shocks, because I have to get around Mimikyu. And this may have been a mistake on my part. You'll see now, they're just going to end their turn on Rotom. This turn I probably should rip PokéStop in hopes of finding a ball search for Sandy Shocks. I just go for a passive Bellowing Thunder play, but I actually can lose to a Flute here. If they hit another Flute and fill my bench, I then won't have an answer to Mimikyu. So I think I made a mistake that game to not get the answer. And there you go, they do just Flute and take the last guy. But even then, like, a Hero's Cake Mimikyu is so bad for Sandy Shocks as well. It's just, it's awful. So yeah, just a quick thing to bear in mind. Now that the Flute is in format, it's actually really important to proactively bench your answer Pokemon. The only reason I didn't want Sandy Shocks on the board early is that its damage output is so rubbish that if I put it down proactively, then it's the block target, right? So yeah, I think this matchup is pretty rough. If you play Cornerstone Ogerpon, I think the matchup is better, but still hard. Let me know your thoughts down below of how you can beat the control deck. Obviously, we lost in a funny way in this game, but I think overall the matchup's not great for you either. I'll hear it all down below. Hope you enjoyed today's video with Raging Bolt Ogerpon. Definitely a powerful archetype. Feels like it's one that's going to stick around. Let me know your thoughts. I'll see you tomorrow for the video. Cheers.